Ethan Ward had built empires out of steel and glass, but lately, even skyscrapers couldn't hide how empty he felt. He had everything a man could want: power, wealth, control. Yet, each night, when the city lights dimmed, he couldn't silence the one question that haunted him. What if he had stayed? Years ago, he'd walked away from love, from her, from the life that could have been. Now, at 30, he sat at the long mahogany table of his corporation's boardroom, surrounded by suits who measured compassion in profit margins. The new pediatric wing, his assistant said, sliding a glossy file toward him. St. Anne's Hospital. They're naming it after your mother. His jaw tightened. Approve it. It was just another donation, another nameplate, another photo for the media. But deep inside, something tugged a whisper he couldn't quite ignore. 2 days later, Ethan stepped out of his black car in front of St. Anne's. Cameras flashed as he adjusted his cufflinks. Every inch, the composed billionaire. Mr. Ward, how does it feel to give back to the children? A reporter asked. He forced a smile. It feels right. Inside, the hospital smelled of antiseptic and quiet hope. Nurses rushed by with clipboards, and somewhere down the corridor, a child's laughter echoed faintly, light and fragile, like sunlight through clouds. He signed the final check in the director's office, shaking hands with staff who thanked him for his generosity. But as he walked through the children's wing under renovation, something drew him toward a closed door. Room 214. A soft voice floated through the air. A nurse. Poor thing. Her mother's been gone a while now. Still no sign of the father. Ethan paused. He didn't mean to listen, but he did. Through the glass panel, he saw a little girl sitting on the hospital bed, legs swinging as she tried to braid her doll's hair. A white bandage wrapped around her small wrist. Her dark hair fell in soft curls over her face, and when she looked up, her eyes, those eyes, hazel, with flecks of gold, eyes he'd seen once before in the woman he could never forget. His breath caught. He stepped closer, almost pressing his hand to the glass. Who is she? He asked the nurse quietly. The nurse blinked, surprised. Lila Carter, 7 years old. She's been here a few weeks. Heart condition. Her mother used to work here before she, well, Ethan felt the floor tilt beneath him. Carter. Anna Carter. The name hit him like a storm. He hadn't seen Anna since the day he left her, a decision made in pride and fear. He'd chased success. She'd wanted a family. Now the hospital he was funding was treating her daughter. A daughter. With his eyes. His pulse thundered in his ears. Does she have anyone? He asked, voice tight. The nurse hesitated. Her mother's been in and out for treatment. It's been rough. But the girl's brave. She keeps saying, Mommy says Daddy's just busy helping people. Ethan's chest constricted. He turned away, gripping the doorway as if to steady himself. How many years had he told himself he'd done the right thing? That love was weakness. That walking away from Anna meant freedom. Now, standing outside room 215, all he saw was everything he'd lost and the little girl who had no idea her father was just a few feet away. He wanted to run, to open the door, to tell her the truth, but fear rooted him in place. What right did he have now? He'd built hospitals for children like her, yet he'd never even known his own. As he walked out of the corridor, the sterile air felt heavier, the walls closer. Every step echoed like judgment. Outside, the cameras waited again, ready for their perfect shot of generosity. But Ethan's perfect world had just cracked wide open, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure money could fix it. For the next 3 days, Ethan Ward couldn't focus. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw hers. Lila's eyes, hazel with golden flecks, full of the same curiosity he once saw in Anna's gaze, years ago. Before he shattered her world with silence, he told himself it was impossible. Coincidence. The world was too big, too cruel for something this exact. And yet, no matter how many times he said it, his heart refused to believe it. By the 4th day, he found himself back at St. Anne's. No reporters this time. No cameras. Just him and the guilt he carried like armor. He walked the hallways in silence until he reached room 214 again. The lights inside were dim. Through the window, he saw Lila asleep, her small hand clutching the same doll from before. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside her. Her chest rose and fell so gently. It looked fragile, like a secret the world was protecting. Mr. Ward, the voice startled him. It was Dr. Avery, head of pediatrics. You're here again. I didn't think you knew the patient. Ethan straightened his tie. I don't. I mean, not personally. I'm just checking the facility. The doctor smiled faintly, the kind of smile people give when they see through a lie but choose mercy instead. She's one of our bravest, he said softly. She's fighting a congenital heart defect. Complicated, but treatable, if we get her the right donor and surgery soon. Ethan's pulse quickened. And her mother? The doctor's eyes dimmed. Anna Carter. She used to work here as a nurse before her diagnosis. She's been under treatment in the oncology wing. He paused. She tries to be strong for her daughter, but she's running out of time. The air around Ethan thickened. The hospital's quiet hum faded under the roar in his head. Anna, still here, still fighting. And he had no idea. Later that evening, Ethan sat in his car across the parking lot, rain tapping against the windshield. He hadn't moved in 20 minutes. He was staring at the hospital windows, one of them faintly glowing from the pediatric ward where Lila slept. He remembered the last time he saw Anna, her eyes, full of tears and defiance. "You can't love your work more than your family," she had said. He'd laughed then. "Love doesn't pay for dreams, Anna." He hadn't known that sentence would haunt him for a lifetime. The next morning, he came back again. This time, he carried no pretense. He just stood by the door until the nurse inside noticed him. "Mr. Ward, visiting someone?" she asked. He hesitated. "Could I just say hello? I'm the donor for the new wing. I wanted to meet one of the children benefiting from it." The nurse smiled warmly. Of course. She loves visitors. When he stepped in, the world seemed to still. Lila looked up from her coloring book, her face lighting up with innocent wonder. "Hi, you're new." Ethan swallowed, forcing his voice steady. "Hi there, I'm Ethan." She grinned, toothy and bright. "You look like my mom's photo of my dad." The words struck like lightning. He froze, the smile faltering. "Oh, your dad." She nodded proudly. "Mom says he helps people. That he's far away but not gone. She says when I get better, he'll find me." Ethan couldn't breathe. For a moment, he turned away, blinking hard. "She sounds like a good mom." "The best," Lila chirped. Then, quieter. "But she's sick, too. Sometimes she sleeps a lot. I draw her pictures so she doesn't forget to smile." He knelt beside her bed, his throat tight. "You're very brave," he whispered. She tilted her head. "You're sad," she said softly, studying him with the innocent perception only children have. "Why?" He smiled faintly. "Because I just met someone very special." Her giggle filled the room like sunlight through storm clouds. "Don't be sad. Mom says when people help others, God sends them hugs. Maybe you need one." And before he could react, she leaned forward and hugged him, tiny arms around his neck. Warm and pure. Something inside Ethan broke. This wasn't coincidence. This was fate, and it was demanding an answer. Hours later, as he walked down the corridor toward the exit, he passed the oncology ward. Through a half-open door, he heard coughing, weak, familiar. He turned. Anna Carter sat propped on her hospital bed, a scarf around her head, reading through medical forms. The sight froze him in place. Her face was thinner, paler, but the strength in her eyes hadn't dimmed. He stood silently, unseen, heart racing. Years had passed, but one look at her and he was the same man, except this time. He wasn't walking away. "Anna," he whispered, the name trembling out of him. Her eyes lifted. For a heartbeat, disbelief, then shock, then pain. "Ethan." The silence that followed was louder than the storm outside. And in that quiet, the walls of every lie he'd built began to crumble. Ethan stood frozen in the doorway, staring at Anna as if time had folded in on itself. Years of boardrooms, business trips, and billion-dollar deals, none of it had prepared him for this moment. She looked fragile, her hair hidden beneath a pale scarf, her breathing shallow but steady, and yet, her eyes still carried that same unshakable fire. "Ethan Ward," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Of all the places in the world, I never thought I'd see you walk into this one." He took a step forward, his throat dry. "Anna, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know you were here, or that." She raised a hand, silencing him. "You didn't know a lot of things." The sting of her words was sharp, but she wasn't cruel, just tired. Years of holding everything together had worn her thin. "I came to fund a new wing," Ethan said quietly. "They said it would help children in need." Her lips twitched, almost a bitter smile. "It did. It helped your child." The silence between them thickened, heavy with unsaid truths. He swallowed hard. "Leela, she's..." Anna nodded slowly, her eyes glassy. "She's yours, Ethan. She was born 7 months after you left. I didn't tell you because you made it clear you had no room in your world for a family." Ethan's chest constricted, as though his heart had forgotten how to beat. "I was wrong," he said, voice cracking. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought success would make me worthy of her, of you." Tears welled in Anna's eyes, but she didn't look away. You can't buy back time, Ethan. You can't sign a check and fix the years you missed. I know, he whispered, but please, let me be part of what's left. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft beeping of a monitor beside her bed. She thinks you're a hero, Anna finally said. She believes you're out there helping people. I didn't want her to grow up hating a man she'd never met. Ethan's vision blurred. She hugged me today, he whispered. She didn't even know who I was. Anna's expression softened for the first time. That sounds like her. He sat beside her bed, his hands trembling. Anna, if there's still a chance for her, for you, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll stay, I'll fight. Anna looked at him, eyes full of quiet sadness. Then prove it. Don't say it, show it. The next morning, Ethan met with Dr. Avery. He insisted on funding not just Leela's surgery, but every child in the ward needing urgent care. No press, no headlines, he said firmly. Just do it. The doctor blinked. That's millions, Mr. Ward. Ethan smiled faintly. I've wasted more than that running from what mattered. Hours later, he sat beside Lila's bed as nurses prepared her for surgery. She looked up at him sleepily. Ethan, she whispered, will you stay here till mommy wakes up? He squeezed her hand gently. I promise, I'll never leave again. She smiled faintly. You sound like my dad. He looked at her, eyes wet. Maybe I am. The nurses exchanged glances but said nothing. When they wheeled her into the operating room, Ethan stood watching the doors close, his hands shaking. He turned and found Anna standing behind him, weak but upright. I had to see her off, she whispered. He stepped closer, holding her as she trembled. She'll be okay. She has your strength. Anna leaned into him for a brief second, the years of distance melting into quiet surrender. Don't make promises you can't keep, Ethan. He cupped her face gently. This one, I intend to keep. The surgery stretched for hours. Every minute felt like a lifetime. Ethan sat outside the ICU window, eyes locked on the glowing red in operation sign. He prayed something he hadn't done in decades. Finally, the door opened. Dr. Avery emerged, pulling down his mask with a tired smile. She's going to be fine, he said softly. The surgery was a success. Ethan exhaled shakily, his knees nearly giving out. Anna's tears flowed freely as she whispered, thank you. Ethan shook his head. Don't thank me. Thank Hera for surviving. Weeks later, the hospital wing bore a new plaque. The Lila Grace Ward Pediatric Wing for every child who deserves a second chance. Lila's laughter filled the hallway as she played with crayons, her hair growing back, her cheeks glowing with life. Anna sat by the window, sunlight brushing across her face. She looked stronger, still recovering, but hopeful. Ethan joined them, crouching beside their daughter. What are you drawing this time? Leela giggled. Our family. Look, Daddy's holding Mommy's hand. Anna looked up at him. Their eyes met, and for once, there was no anger, just understanding. Daddy, are you going to stay this time? Leela asked. Ethan smiled through tears. Forever. And for the first time, he meant Ith built hospitals for strangers, but never knew his own child was inside one of them. This is a story of guilt, forgiveness, and love rediscovered, proof that no matter how far you run, fate has a way of bringing you home. Ethan Ward thought he could buy peace with success, but the day he walked into St. Anne's, he found something money could never replace. A family he thought he'd lost forever. Watch till the end, because sometimes the greatest healing doesn't come from medicine, but from love. Tell us which moment broke your heart the most. Subscribe for more Millionaire family drama stories that will make you cry, heal, and believe again.